This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and in a moment I'll present to you yesterday's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. This is your go-to supplemental source for both mainstream and unconventional news stories. Some you may have missed because the mainstream stories overtook. Some may be way off the beaten path, and so we're bringing them into you so you can get some context on things that are different and have more conversations with people you may not be able to touch, our vast majority of people that we have around the world in our conversational feeds and people that we touch. Now, we are going to talk about Dane Cook, one of the stories that we have here. If you're watching the video, he's in the teaser graphic there, but 8 stories for the day from the top 15 stories that you vetted as conversational. We'll tell you how to work that out in just a bit. So give us about 12 minutes to get through the stories, and we'll tell you how that works out as well. Plus, the second part of the show, the fun stuff happens at the end, so stick around for that. You will enjoy it. We always have fun with the fun stuff, more daily talk show stuff, if you will, it becomes at that point. Today happens to be Tuesday, September 26, 2023, if all the slides are proper, and we're going to get into the news right now. Remember, these stories were vetted by you and curated for this intro for this broadcast by me to give you the 8 stories. If you want to go learn more about how we do this right now, check out our website. This is theconversationproject.com for more details about what we do basically 7 days a week. Let's get into the news stories for right now. As we said, today happens to be Tuesday, the 26th of September, 2023. Our first story of the morning is this one. Headline reads, "Driver pleads not guilty in Vermont crash that killed actor Treat Williams." Ryan Koss was arraigned on gross negligence charges after the crash that killed Treat Williams. Koss could be sentenced to 15 years in prison. He is, of course, pleaded not guilty to this. 35-year-old in the gross negligence crash case will basically see trial coming very soon on this one. A vehicle pulled in front of Williams, who was riding a motorcycle, and he was unable to avoid the collision with the Honda SUV that was being driven by Ryan Koss. That's the basics of the story. Now, this will go to trial, and there'll be more details to come, but we're going to see this essentially because he's pleading not guilty. He's saying he's not responsible. This one will have to be played out in a court of law. Dane Cook is back in the news for not doing anything all that crazy, just getting married. He married Kelsi Taylor in a Hawaii wedding. His longtime friend, Kelsi Taylor, who's 24, and Cook, who's 51, met at a game night at a house when she might have been 17, so that's why people are kind of about this. They dated for more than 5 years and got engaged in 2022, and now they are officially married. Many people throw a lot of things at Dane Cook for his life and his jokes and his lifestyle, and especially this woman he's been dating for a while, but he has been committed to her for all this time. The 30-minute ceremony was to close to everybody, with some photos on Instagram showing what happened at the ceremony. You can give your love, your hate to Dane Cook, but right now we have another celebrity couple getting together. Of course, we're seeing a lot of them break up this year. We'll see how long this one will actually go. How long can she go? Sophia Loren is now 89 years old. She is recovering from a surgery after a fall in her Geneva home. At 89 years old, as many old people get to be that age, falls are serious, and she had a serious surgery to deal with a fall at her home. Now, the long time just Hollywood sex symbol in the 50s and 60s, and in the later years doing things like grumpier old men, still making it work for those grumpier old men. We're still looking for her to recover from this one very well. Still plenty of work for her to do, so we're looking for getting well very soon for Miss Sophia Loren. This is a story we did a little TikTok teaser on last night and got a lot of response on, so we knew you guys are going to engage in this one. The headline reads, "Trump tells gun store he'd like to buy a Glock, raising legal questions." Trump was back on the campaign trail yesterday, and he was at a gun store with some volunteers and some, worshipers there going on and just talking about guns. No big deal. He looked at a Glock handgun, actually had some that were like 45 model that were kind of cool, and said he'd like to buy one of those. He'd like to have one of those, specifically because it was, had 45 on it because he's 45. One of his social media minions put on Twitter, actual Twitter, not the other thing, that Trump bought a gun. And then people responded that Trump's under federal indictment and can't actually buy guns. He can own the guns he has. No one's going to take his guns away. He just can't add any more guns. And so they took that off the social media. They had to explain it, and it turned into a big huffle-kabuffle. But it is what it is. Now, Trump wanting guns is no big deal in the grand scheme of things, and Trump walking around and doing his campaigning, no big deal in the grand scheme of things. But some of these things are kind of important informational pieces for the smartest guy in the world to have known, and for the people running his campaign to also keep up as well, because it's a simple attack. Keith Morrison to unpack Arkansas's beauty queen killing in new podcast. I'll be honest, I pulled this one essentially because it was Keith Morrison and the Arkansas story. But you guys love Keith Morrison, you love true crime, and this is a story that probably could use a little bit of extra work on the grand stage. It's a big one here. Nora Dirksmeyer, a 19-year-old music major, was found brutally stabbed and beaten to death in her apartment in Russellville, Arkansas in 2005. A neighbor and a boyfriend were charged with her death, but were later acquitted. This became a very, very big story here in Arkansas, and Keith Morrison and a new podcast from Dateline, branded by Dateline, is going to examine this. 2 episodes are out so far called Murder in Our Apartment 12. They're out today as it is. Subscribe to Dateline Premium or Apple Podcasts or whatever your podcast app is to get them. Early access comes from Dateline because they're making money off this, because they do. Keith Morrison essentially born to do this. Before there was true crime as a genre, there was just creepy stories that he voiced over for NBC, and now he is more or less the OG for Dateline and those types of stories, those types of shows, those types of entertainment. Keith Morrison, as long as he's around, we'll have plenty of creepy voices stories for those things to kind of weird us out. Professor praises SAT shortening exams to give students more time. The New York Post gave us a story, but what there is an actual an op-ed that's out there, written by Dr. Adam Grant, that goes into detail on how the new SATs are a game changer for students. What's happening is they're basically putting less questions on the test and giving a bit more time on the test, which means you're just less pressure to perform in a time sensing for people who are typically not good at tests. You have a little more time to work on your test, and there's less questions to get due in the time, so it works out for the better for folks in that way. Of course, many calls are going out for essentially the dumbing down of the SATs, a test that many schools are just not using anyway, so it's also an issue there. But we'll see if the professor at Wharton is saying that this is a good thing, get people on more of an even playing field for the test, because people who are good at tests will still be good at tests. People who are not good at tests will have a better chance of being better at the test, and you get a better example of scores that are more relevant to each other, as opposed to someone who aces it and people who do bad because they're poor on testing. We'll see if the war on whatever war you want to call it is going to be there's going to be another salvo on that one. But so right now, people are already complaining that we're making it too easy, when in the actuality, they say they're making it actually more even. There are earworms aplenty for Journey as they celebrated 50 years and the 50th anniversary of being a band. 30 shows coming up in 2024. You get the chance to see them. Check out the link we have. This is from USA Today, but they're all over the place. North America tour is going to kick off in a few months. Tickets go on sale on this Friday, the 29th. Check it out and see. You hear all the greatest hits. Check out the videos and relive your love of Journey coming forth in 30 cities. One of them could be pretty close to you next year. Finally, this is a big important one. The Florida city was duped out of $1.2 million in a phishing scam. So the scammer impersonated a construction company and duped the Florida city of Fort Lauderdale out of $1.2 million, sparking a police investigation. The city is working with appropriate law enforcement agencies to determine exactly what occurred. Just a typical phishing scam. Someone said they had information, but they needed some other stuff to fill out some accounts. And someone actually gave them the information, and they pulled up just the right enough stuff and pulled $1.2 million out of the coffers of Fort Lauderdale. The mayor of the city told news outlets that the city wants the money back. He said the scam was followed up with a full documentation, multiple paperwork, and was consistent with the practice the city had been following. But the construction company that reached out obviously was not real and was able to pilfer the money from them. Be very careful of phishing scams. Don't just ignore them. You make note of what they are. Do not reply to them, of course, but keep an eye on things that are coming through. I work for an organization that has a lot of people coming in asking, hey, is this real? When our president of our college every couple months asked people to come go buy gift cards for a special occasion, we had to eventually tell folks, no, this is real. Check the email address, check the diction. This doesn't make any sense. It's all bad. And they're usually fairly easy to catch, but a very good one can get through and, like you said, do this one. And sometimes a bad one can get through and pilfer people for money. Phishing scams, big deal. Pay attention to them. In our apologies, errors, and omissions section today, very quickly, we're dealing with heels, run the world, and blind spotting, all acts that stars. This is from Deadline, and as we are getting the nearing, we'll get to that in a moment, of the writer's strike and back to work, hopefully very soon for writers and actors across the nation, especially in Hollywood. Stars essentially getting rid of dead weight right now. And Heels, the one show in this list that seems to be targeted, seems to be karmatic action coming back to Stephen Amell, who at the beginning of the writer's strike, trying to promote the new season of Heels, essentially, blasted the writers. And so this may be something, karma coming back to haunt him, as the second season will be the final season of Heels on Stars. Now, let's talk about what we can talk about tomorrow and going forward with our teaser story for the morning. The teaser story here we'll present is one story that's in the feeds that you can respond to and get people to react to tomorrow and have me talk about it in more detail. The teaser story for this morning reads headline like this: Writer strike is not over yet with key votes remaining on deal. Now, this may actually change if they actually sign it, vote for it, and get it done sometime today. The vote is supposed to be today, but we'll see exactly how this thing rolls out. Now, we call it a tease because we ask you to check out the stories that you want us to talk about. And you go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and you give us the commands of what to talk about. On Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com or X.com/th_conversation. All you have to do is engage in the story. If you click the like button or the hate button or you share it with someone, that's an engagement point. The higher the engagement a story gets, the higher count it gets at the end of the day, beginning of the morning, if you will. And tomorrow morning, I'll pull up all the stories. I'll put them in ranked order by their engagement. And the top 15 stories get consideration for what we have here. And it's that simple. Follow us on our feeds. The cheapest, easiest thing you can do to keep us going, because you put the words in our mouth every single day. This morning, I want to take a moment to talk about hostage tape. Hostage tape is the strongest, more comfortable mouth tape on the planet. And I've been seeing lots of videos just independently of people who have used mouth tape for their health, for their breathing, for their exercising. And they're touting the great results. If you've never heard of this before, now you have. If you don't know where to get something like this, now you do. Check out our link at thisisaconversationproject.com/hostage tape. What you get from hostage tape is it keeps your mouth closed. It's very comfortable. It's breathable, if you will, but it's not like, sticking masking tape or duct tape or electro tape on your mouth to keep it closed while you're running. It's very comfortable. It's more like the Ace bandage that's on your mouth, and it keeps your mouth closed so that you breathe through your nose, as opposed to putting a Band-Aid on your nose and opening your nose up. Close your mouth. It helps you when you're sleeping to breathe through your nose. It helps you when you're exercising to breathe through your nose. It helps you to breathe through your nose. Check it out at thisisaconversationproject.com/hostage tape. This is an affiliate link, so we get a little bit back as commission for you using it. But check it out. We have a lot of people that kind of snickered and thought this was silly, and then they actually looked at it and said, wow, this is actually pretty good. Check it out at hostage tape, and they will be a lifesaver for you. They can literally be a lifesaver for you. Conversation Project lives at thisisaconversationproject.com online. That is where we provide for you every single morning, weekday morning, Monday through Friday, links to the Conversation Projects, things you might have heard. We have links to various video and audios and things we do for more information out there. We have weekend shows that wrap things up and give you more details. And we do our best to connect with you as conversational people around the world. Go to the website to find all our stuff. Links to our videos, the live video, which is I'm doing now, literally live for the recording, the replays of the videos, the audios in podcast form, and of course, the links in the newsletter, and how you can just join up with us. We talk about the feeds. Follow us in the feeds and tell us what to talk about. Email the show at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Tell us what to talk about, what to not talk about there as well. Follow us for our sponsors and our partnerships page. If you deem us worthy of a little help, we can use all the help that you can offer up. We thank you so much in advance for that. And we're going to move on right now to the fun stuff. This is what we have every single morning. We promise you it, and it is a blast. And the fun stuff begins right now. Fun stuff begins every single weekday morning with birthdays, and today, this 26th September, no exception. Jim Caviezel is 55 years old today. In the news for being the star of The Sound of Freedom, Sound of Silence. I can't even name the name of the movie. We've talked about it, and I'm drawing a blank. But the story of the man who went undercover to stop trafficking of children, who the man now himself is being investigated for some weird actions. We're not going to hold that on Jim Caviezel. He has his own crosses to bear, pun intended, for that one. He is 55 years old on this day. Christina Milian is 42 years old, and birthday twin Serena Williams is 42 years old. Didn't realize that till after we did the math and pulled them in there. Christina Milian, of course, known from way back, starring with Nick Cannon, now 42 years old, still doing great music and some acting as well. And Serena, who is retired officially from professional tennis, but still out there on the court playing every so often, and still being an ambassador, still being a businesswoman, fashion and art and those things, and still getting things done at 42 years old on today. Congratulations to everyone celebrating birthday on this day, including especially these folks right here. Let's get to our history lesson for this morning, starting off in 1962 on this day of course, the 26th September. The Beverly Hillbillies premiered. Now, in 62, it might have been a real big deal for a show about people who lived way out in the holler to find gold, get rich, and then show up in Beverly Hills, a rich city, and literally be hayseeds in the middle of the city. About 20 years ago, weirdly enough, they tried to redo that as a reality show and then realized everybody's got a cell phone and everybody's got satellite TV, so it really is kind of dumb. We're glad they didn't do that. But Beverly Hillbillies, if you've not seen it because you're under 35, go Google it. It's going to be really weird to you. It's not going to make any sense. They're going to talk about a concrete pool, and they're going to have all sort of animals and varmints running around. But back in my day, when all we had was old reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies, it was a hoot. It was a hoot. Check it out. And Granny, you're going to fall in love with Granny. Granny's just all over the place. In 1990, the Motion Picture Association of America announced it had created a new rating called NC-17, designed to bar moviegoers under the age of 17 from certain films without commercial stigma of the old X rating. Of course, X meaning sexually explicit, NC-17 meaning no content suitable for people under 17. That's how they got a lot of slasher films that got really intense, as opposed to just being something that had a lot of just dirty sex in it. Still pretty bad. Still hard to see. Not many movies get the NC-17 rating because you really kind of want people to go see it. But some things just got a little too out there, and the directors wanted it that way. So NC-17 was created on this day in 1990. And in 2017, the video game Fortnite Battle Royale was released. Now, towards my math, it's been 6 years of Fortnite, which has gone through various iterations and various upgrades based on the technology we have. One of the more popular multiple player shooters out there, just people running around shooting at stuff and hitting people with hammers, things like that. I don't get it. I'm bad at video games, so it's not about me. But Fortnite, 6 years old on this day. Happy freaking birthday to Fortnite. On this day, this 26th of September, we're going to celebrate Situational Awareness Day. And what is that? This is about essentially you and your health and your safety and well-being. Situational awareness is essentially being aware of where you are in what situations. If you're walking down the street, being aware of the people nearby you, the vehicles nearby you, what could be obstacles could be in your way. If you're in a crowded room someplace, being aware of the exits and where maybe medical personnel are, maybe defibrillators or first aid kits in case something happens. This is literally about having a sixth sense, a mind of knowing where things are going, where things could be going, and being there. Today, you think about your situational awareness, how you can improve your odds and chances of survival if something happens going forward. This might sound like a little bit of just being paranoid, but guess what? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone's not actually out to get you. So, Situational Awareness Day, that's our day for September 26th. And finally, one more thing you might not have heard about Natural Situation Day. I guess I put it in there and knowing this and then getting rid of that. So let me just reread this again for you guys who are here. It comes up every September 26th every year. The holiday helps create more awareness about the importance of personal safety. Since we're all responsible for our own personal safety most of the time, it is important to be reminded of the general safety tips. National Situational Awareness Day was created for this purpose. With that, we're going to move on, since I've explained it before, to wrap things up on the day. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. Today's show for Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 is officially done. We want you to follow us on our feed so that we can have things to talk about. Email the show so we know what we should do better in the projection type stuff, and visit the partnerships page to see if there's some way that we can actually work together to make things work better. If you would like to, we appreciate that. We do want you to, not if you like to, just do it. Stay limber, stay hydrated, and stay on task for all the grand things you are here to do on this earth, and enjoy your Tuesday. Tuesday should be a grand day. Call it, claim it, make it a grand day, even if some things aren't going to plan. I've got a lot of things on my plate today that should be cleansers of things that have been in the way. So I'm going to use that and use that for my positive action going forward. For you, enjoy yourself, follow the feeds, give us the notes on what we need to talk about for tomorrow, and join us tomorrow for another edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard.